Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, Season 9, Episode 9. So, yeah, apparently this was one of those episodes that was released early in Italy. And it was released in Italian, so that's why I hadn't reacted to it earlier or anything. But some people, I guess, had already seen it. I guess maybe there was a subtitled version put up. But I haven't seen any spoilers for it, luckily. Luckily, no one that I at least follow, I guess, has been posting anything spoiler-related for this episode, which is great. Great, I love to see that. Well, love to not see that. But yeah, so I know nothing about this episode. I don't know title, I don't know writers, I don't know character focus, I don't know anything. And that's the way I like to keep it. I actually even managed to avoid spoilers with, what's his face? Oh my gosh, I can't remember his name. There's this one reviewer who at the end of all of his reviews for the episodes posts, he posts a little like, oh, this is what's happening next time thing. And there's like no normal cut between it. So it's just like he's talking about the episode and all of a sudden, oh, well, this is what's going to happen next time. And it's like, don't do that. And I've been pretty good about avoiding it and everything. Most of the time when he starts to say like, oh, but next time we get, I usually, the instant I hear anything similar to that, I just stop it. Usually I'm wearing my headphones, so I'll just take those off, especially. And yeah, I didn't even end up getting to that point with the last one. I just stopped it early because I had heard most of what he wanted to say. Anyway, I can't think of his name though. It's not Dr. Wolf, obviously. Although he isn't, like, super against sharing spoilers either. No, it's someone else. I can't think of it. If you know, let me know in the comments below, I guess. But either way, yeah, so I know nothing about this, but I am excited. This season has been great so far, and I'm hoping it continues to be so. So for now, let's just get this going. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts, and will contain spoilers to the episode. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. Okay, and we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so, another really good episode. And one I really didn't expect, a redemption episode for Garble. Mostly, I mean, it wasn't as, like, straightforward of a redemption as, like, we had with Gilda in Lost Treasure of Griffinstone. But there was definitely a redemption aspect to it, and he definitely, I think, is not going to be as mean to Spike going forward. Granted, I don't think we're going to end up seeing much more of the Dragonlance going forward, but with only a certain amount of episodes left. But yeah, this was good for a number of reasons. I like the idea of Spike, Smolder, and Fluttershy working together for this, I guess you could call it a mission. It just, I don't know, it feels like it works out really well. It's a really interesting combination, and I like how it all came together. Fluttershy continued, once again, to show her more confident, aggressive side. I don't like calling it aggressive, to be honest, but more, I don't know, I guess just confident side works. It continues to show her progressive development. And it's just, every time it happens, it's amazing to see. It's awesome. So we find out in this that Smolder's brother is Garble. And that he's secretly a beat poet, but that he hides it from everyone else other than Smolder because he's afraid he'll be made fun of. But in terms of Smolder, he loves to share it with her, and that's why he's been so down lately. Because since Smolder's been gone at the friendship school, he's had no one to share it with and no poetry to be able to write because of it. So we see Spike and Fluttershy and Smolder trying to help and everything. They're hanging out with him a lot of the episode, just hanging out and stuff, but also giving him some advice here and there. Nothing seems to be sticking until the Beat Poet thing is revealed. Fluttershy finds this out, and she's actually the one who tries to talk through it with him, which surprised me a little bit. Like, I mean, yes, Fluttershy, it works for her character, but I really figured Spike would have done it. So it's surprising that he really wasn't the one to turn Garble around. A little disappointing too, if I'm being honest, because again, it felt like it would have been great for both of their character arcs if it would have been Spike. But just in general, I thought, like, it's fine. It's fine. It works in terms of the context of the episode. So meanwhile, there's this problem going on where the hatching grounds are too cold because the dragons had been, unintentionally, I feel, but they still, I mean, they didn't know they were draining the lava from under the hatching grounds, but it was still happening. So as a way to fix it, Garble realizes that since Laughfire, which is apparently a thing, I guess, is so much hotter than just normal fire breath, he can use his poetry to make all the other dragons laugh. And that'll allow them to breathe their Laughfire all over the eggs, allowing them to hatch. And it worked. It worked out extremely well. And in the end, Ember stood up for him and said, you know what? In my kingdom, we are going to be inclusive. We're going to accept anyone for whatever they end up liking. And she even goes straight up to Garble and says, can you teach me poetry? Can you teach me beat poetry? It actually seems pretty cool. And it's like, that's awesome. That's a really great moment of affirmation. And affirmation, no matter what the context behind it, is important. Whether it's just being something as simple as a poet or being a member of the LGBT community. Or anything else. No matter what you're into, being affirmed in your interests, being affirmed in your family situation, your life goals, your dreams, all of that stuff. Affirmation and any of that kind of stuff and more is important. And it makes us feel good when we get that affirmation. So yeah, people encouraging Garble here, and not even just encouraging, but actually straight up asking him to teach them about it. That had to feel really good for him. And with all of that, this is building upon Garble as a character, so his reformation doesn't feel as forced. It allows us to feel like, okay, there's something there that he has been hiding, which is why we haven't seen it before as well, because he's been actively hiding it. And we see that he's ashamed of it in a way, but that he still loves it. So it's just a really cool way to build on his character, to give him more than just, the stereotypical bully archetype, but also as a way to connect him to the available, storytelling. Okay, I'm wording this completely weirdly. It allows the story to work together with his character as it grows and develops in this episode to be able to make a redemption arc feel more natural. Because again, if they tried to redeem him without that, it would feel a little more forced because of the way he had acted before. By giving him a reason for his actions, it humanizes him, for lack of a better word. And that's a thing that you have to realize. A lot of bullies out there aren't just being bullies for the sake of being assholes. There are some who are, but a lot of them, hell, I'd even say most of them, are bullies because they don't want to be bullied. It's basically like, oh, I don't want to be bullied, so I'm going to be the bully instead. And a lot of times it's because of things that they're hiding, things that they're ashamed of or don't want other people to know of because they're afraid that they'll laugh at them for it. Um, I've actually known a person who used to be a bully, and it was because he loved anime. He actually bullied me. Um, but it was because he loved anime and he didn't want to be bullied. He didn't want people to pick on him for thinking he was weird, or thinking he was like a loser because he was into anime. Even though nowadays, like anime is like actually pretty super popular. But like back then in like middle school when that happened, it's like, yeah. And now he's just completely open about it, and he's made his amends for it all. And he's a cool guy. I don't like have like constant communication with him, but he's a cool guy. I have no issue with him anymore. And the point is, he he made his mistakes and was a bully and acted like that just because he didn't want to go through it himself, and he felt like that in that time as a middle schooler, he felt like that the best way to stop from being bullied was to basically get ahead of the game, to be the bully himself, and that would keep him from being on the receiving end. And it's like it's not quite that simple, for one, and for two, it's just it doesn't it's not right. It doesn't make things right, and it doesn't help in any way. But yeah, yeah. So I've known people who have been in that kind of situation. And hell, I've been in that kind of situation. I honestly have I've done horrible things and said horrible things in the past. And funny enough, a lot of it's been against the LGBT community prior to me coming out. Before I came out, before I was comfortable enough to admit to myself that I was LGBT, especially in regards to trans, I was hugely homophobic and transphobic, especially transphobic. Like, even after I had started to accept gay people, lesbians, bi people, etc., I was still very transphobic at that point. Um, and I said some horrible things. And I was saying it because in deep down, I didn't want to admit that I felt that way too. I didn't want to admit that I was having feelings that I might be not what was assigned to me at birth. And once I really started to listen to those feelings, once people affirmed me, and once I saw um, all kinds of great representation and people and stuff, I met people and everything, and started to research into it, and it made me realize I was wrong for acting that way. That I was being a bully because I didn't want to be bullied, because I didn't want to face that same horrible, uh, well, bullying, for lack of a better word at this point, that so many others did. So I kind of rather chose to attack them myself. And yeah, I mean, I've gotten over that, and I've worked past it. I've made my amends, and I continue to do so. I've just I can relate to this episode in a way because of that. And I don't think I was ever as mean or as harsh as Garble in terms of bullying others, but I still did it. And yeah, I can connect to this episode because of that. And I definitely understand its moral, and it's great. Now, I'm not saying that I'm like, I find this episode like phenomenal or anything. I'm not saying that it's like the best episode or even one of the necessarily best of this season. Um, but I am saying I do appreciate it. I really appreciate and enjoy it for what it did. And for honestly the realism that it portrayed in this kind of situation. And that's not always the case. Like I said, there are occasions where bullies will be bullies just to be assholes. There are. It's not always the case that there's some deeper reasoning behind it. But a lot of the times, and again, as I'd say probably most, there is some kind of reason. And who knows what it is? You don't know unless you ask, unless you learn to communicate with them. But either way, I did enjoy this episode. I thought it was really entertaining. Again, I loved Fluttershy in this one. I did enjoy Spike because even though he was having trouble with it, he was still trying. And yeah, it was overall fun. I really didn't expect that to be the twist, though, for Garble to be Smolder's brother. I didn't even consider it. Like, I was thinking in my head of what Smolder's brother could look like. I was thinking it was going to be like a brand new character. No, instead, it's a character we've had since, like, what, season 2, I think? But yeah, it's like, that's really interesting. Either way, tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, Season 9. And thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.
And though you've come through many obstacles,